Genesis chapter 41. 2 full years later, Pharaoh had a dream. He was standing by the Nile River, and out of the river came 7 cows, sleek and fat, and they grazed among the reeds. After them, 7 other cows came up out of the Nile, ugly and thin. They stood beside the other cows on the riverbank, and the ugly, thin cows ate up the 7 sleek, fat cows. Then Pharaoh woke up. He fell asleep again and had a second dream. In this dream, 7 heads of grain, healthy and full, grew on a single stalk. After them, 7 other heads of grain sprouted, thin and scorched by the east wind. The thin heads of grain swallowed up the 7 healthy, full heads. Then Pharaoh woke up and realized it had been a dream. In the morning, Pharaoh was troubled, so he sent for all the magicians and wise men of Egypt. He told them his dreams, but none of them could interpret them for him. Then the chief cupbearer said to Pharaoh, "Today I am reminded of my shortcomings. Some time ago, Pharaoh was angry with his servants, and he imprisoned me and the chief baker in the house of the captain of the guard. One night, we both had dreams, and each dream had its own meaning. Now, a young Hebrew was there with us, a servant of the captain of the guard. We told him our dreams, and he interpreted them for us, giving each man the meaning of his dream. And things turned out exactly as he interpreted them. I was restored to my position, and the other man was hanged." So Pharaoh sent for Joseph, and he was quickly brought from the dungeon. After he shaved and changed his clothes, he came before Pharaoh. Pharaoh said to Joseph, "I had a dream, and no one can interpret it. But I have heard that when you hear a dream, you can explain it." Joseph replied, "I cannot do it, but God will give Pharaoh the answer he desires." Then Pharaoh described his dream to Joseph. "In my dream, I was standing on the bank of the Nile. Suddenly, 7 cows, fat and healthy, came up out of the river and began grazing among the reeds. Then 7 other cows came up after them, scrawny and very ugly and thin. I had never seen such poor-looking cows in all of Egypt. The thin cows ate up the 7 fat cows, but even after they had eaten them, they looked just as bad as before. Then I woke up. In my second dream, I saw 7 heads of grain, full and good, growing on a single stalk. After them, 7 other heads sprouted, withered, thin, and scorched by the east wind. The thin heads swallowed up the 7 good heads. I told this to the magicians, but none could explain it to me." Joseph said to Pharaoh, "The dreams of Pharaoh mean the same thing. God has revealed to Pharaoh what he is about to do. The 7 good cows are 7 years, and the 7 good heads of grain are also 7 years. It is the same dream. The 7 thin, ugly cows that came up later are 7 years, and so are the 7 worthless heads of grain scorched by the east wind. They represent 7 years of famine. It is just as I said to Pharaoh. God has shown Pharaoh what he is about to do. 7 years of great abundance are coming throughout the land of Egypt, but 7 years of famine will follow them. Then all the abundance in Egypt will be forgotten, and the famine will ravage the land. The abundance in the land will not be remembered, because the famine that follows it will be so severe." The reason the dream was given to Pharaoh in 2 forms is that the matter has been firmly decided by God, and God will soon do it. Now, let Pharaoh look for a discerning and wise man, and put him in charge of the land of Egypt. Let Pharaoh appoint commissioners over the land to take 1/5 of the harvest during the 7 years of abundance. They should collect all the food of these good years that are coming and store up the grain under Pharaoh's authority, to be kept in cities for food. This food should be held in reserve for the country, to be used during the 7 years of famine that will come upon Egypt, so that the country may not be ruined by the famine." The plan seemed good to Pharaoh and to all his officials. So Pharaoh asked them, "Can we find anyone like this man, one in whom is the Spirit of God?" Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, "Since God has made all this known to you, there is no one so discerning and wise as you. You shall be in charge of my palace, and all my people will submit to your orders. Only with respect to the throne will I be greater than you." So Pharaoh said to Joseph, "I hereby put you in charge of the whole land of Egypt." Then Pharaoh took his signet ring from his finger and put it on Joseph's hand. He dressed him in robes of fine linen and put a gold chain around his neck. He had him ride in a chariot as his second in command, and people shouted before him, "Bow the knee." Thus, he put him in charge of the whole land of Egypt. Pharaoh said to Joseph, "I am Pharaoh, but without your word no one will lift hand or foot in all Egypt." Pharaoh gave Joseph the name Zaphanath-Paneah and gave him Asenath, daughter of Potipharah, priest of On, to be his wife. And Joseph went throughout the land of Egypt. Joseph was 30 years old when he entered the service of Pharaoh king of Egypt, and he traveled throughout Egypt. During the 7 years of abundance, the land produced plentifully. Joseph collected all the food produced in those 7 years and stored it in cities. In each city, he put the food grown in the fields surrounding it. Joseph stored up huge quantities of grain, like the sand of the sea. It was so much that he stopped keeping records because it was beyond measure. Before the years of famine came, 2 sons were born to Joseph by Asenath, daughter of Potipharah, priest of On. Joseph named his firstborn Manasseh and said, "It is because God has made me forget all my trouble and all my father's household." The second son he named Ephraim and said, "It is because God has made me fruitful in the land of my suffering." The 7 years of abundance in Egypt came to an end, and the 7 years of famine began, just as Joseph had said. There was famine in all the other lands, but in the whole land of Egypt there was food. When all Egypt began to feel the famine, the people cried to Pharaoh for food. Then Pharaoh told all the Egyptians, "Go to Joseph and do what he tells you." When the famine had spread over the whole country, Joseph opened all the storehouses and sold grain to the Egyptians, for the famine was severe throughout Egypt. And all the world came to Egypt to buy grain from Joseph, because the famine was severe everywhere. Genesis chapter 42. When Jacob learned that there was grain in Egypt, he said to his sons, "Why are you just standing around looking at each other? I've heard there is grain in Egypt. Go down there and buy some for us so that we may live and not die." So 10 of Joseph's brothers went down to Egypt to buy grain. But Jacob did not send Benjamin, Joseph's younger brother, with them, for he was afraid that something bad might happen to him. Since the famine was severe in the land of Canaan, the sons of Israel went to buy grain along with others who came to Egypt for the same reason. Joseph was now the governor of Egypt, the one who sold grain to all the people. When his brothers arrived, they bowed down to him with their faces to the ground. Joseph recognized his brothers, but they did not recognize him. Pretending to be a stranger, he spoke harshly to them and asked, "Where have you come from?" They replied, "We've come from the land of Canaan to buy food." Joseph knew they were his brothers, but they did not realize who he was. Then he remembered the dreams he had once had about them, and he said, "You are spies. You've come to see where our land is unprotected." "No, my lord," they replied. "Your servants have come only to buy food. We are all sons of one man. We are honest men, not spies." But Joseph insisted, "No, you've come to see where the land is vulnerable." They said, "We are 12 brothers, sons of one man who lives in the land of Canaan. The youngest is with our father right now, and one is no more." Joseph said to them, "Just as I told you, you are spies. Here's how you will be tested. As surely as Pharaoh lives, you will not leave this place unless your youngest brother comes here. Send one of you to get your brother while the rest of you remain in prison. Then we'll see if your story is true. If it's not, then as surely as Pharaoh lives, you are spies." He put them all in custody for 3 days. On the 3rd day, Joseph said to them, "Do this, and you will live, for I fear God. If you are honest men, let one of your brothers stay here in prison while the rest of you go and take grain back to your starving households. But you must bring your youngest brother to me. That way, your words may be verified, and you will not die." They agreed. They said to one another, "Surely we are being punished because of our brother. We saw the anguish of his soul when he pleaded with us, but we wouldn't listen. That's why this distress has come upon us." Reuben replied, "Didn't I tell you not to sin against the boy? But you wouldn't listen. Now we must account for his blood." They didn't realize that Joseph understood them, since he was speaking through an interpreter. Joseph turned away from them and began to weep. Then he returned and spoke to them again. He took Simeon from them and had him bound before their eyes. Joseph gave orders to fill their bags with grain, to put each man's silver back in his sack, and to give them provisions for their journey. All of this was done for them. They loaded their grain onto their donkeys and left. At the place where they stopped for the night, one of them opened his sack to get feed for his donkey and found his silver in the mouth of his sack. "My silver has been returned," he said to his brothers. "Here it is in my sack." Their hearts sank, and trembling, They turned to each other and said, "What is this that God has done to us?" When they arrived in Canaan, they told their father Jacob everything that had happened to them. "The man who is Lord over the land spoke harshly to us," they said. "He accused us of being spies. But we said, 'We are honest men, not spies. We are 12 brothers, sons of one father. One is no more, and the youngest is with our father in Canaan.' Then the man who is Lord of the land said to us, 'This is how I will know whether you are honest. Leave one of your brothers with me, and take grain back to your starving households. But bring your youngest brother to me, so that I will know you are not spies, but honest men. Then I will give your brother back to you, and you can trade freely in the land.' As they were emptying their sacks, each one discovered his pouch of silver in his sack. When they and their father saw the money pouches, they were frightened. Their father Jacob said, 'You have deprived me of my children. Joseph is gone, Simeon is gone, and now you want to take Benjamin. Everything is going against me.' Then Reuben said to his father, 'You may put both of my sons to death if I do not bring him back to you. Entrust him to my care, and I will return him.' But Jacob said, 'My son shall not go down with you. His brother is dead, and he is the only one left. If harm comes to him on the journey you are taking, you will bring my gray head down to the grave in sorrow.'" Genesis chapter 43. The famine in the land grew even more severe. When the grain they had brought from Egypt was finished, Jacob said to his sons, "Go back and buy us a little more food." But Judah replied, "The man warned us solemnly, 'You will not see my face again unless your brother is with you. So if you'll send our brother with us, we'll go and buy food. But if you won't send him, we're not going.' That man made it clear, 'Without our brother, we are not to appear before him.' Israel asked, 'Why did you bring this trouble on me by telling the man you had another brother?' They replied, 'The man questioned us closely about our family. Is your father still alive? Do you have another brother?' We simply answered his questions. How could we know he'd say, 'Bring your brother down here'?" Then Judah said to his father Israel, "Send the boy with me. Let us go, so that we and you and our children may live and not die. I'll personally guarantee his safety. You can hold me responsible. If I do not bring him back to you and set him before you, I will bear the blame forever." If we hadn't delayed, we could have gone and returned twice by now. Then their father Israel said, "If it must be so, then do this. Pack some of the best products of the land in your bags as a gift for the man: a little balm, a little honey, spices and myrrh, pistachio nuts, and almonds. Take double the money with you, for you must return the silver that was put back in your sacks. It may have been a mistake. And take your brother as well. Go back to the man at once. May God Almighty grant you mercy before him, so that he will let your other brother and Benjamin come back with you. As for me, if I am bereaved, I am bereaved." So the men took the gifts, the double amount of silver, and Benjamin. They journeyed to Egypt and presented themselves before Joseph. When Joseph saw Benjamin with them, he said to his house steward, "Take these men to my house. Slaughter an animal and prepare a meal. They will eat with me at noon." The steward did as Joseph instructed and brought the men to Joseph's house. The brothers were afraid when they were taken into his house. They said to one another, "It's because of the silver that was returned in our sacks the first time. He wants to trap us, overpower us, make us slaves, and take our donkeys." So they went to Joseph's house steward and spoke to him at the entrance. "Please, sir," they said, "we came here once before to buy food. But at the place where we stopped for the night, we opened our sacks and saw that each man's silver had been returned, right there in the top of his sack. So we've brought it back with us. We've also brought more silver to buy food. We don't know who put our money in our sacks." The steward replied, "It's all right. Don't be afraid. Your God, the God of your father, has given you treasure in your sacks. I received your payment." Then he brought Simeon out to them. The man took the brothers into Joseph's house. He gave them water to wash their feet and provided fodder for their donkeys. They prepared their gift for Joseph, waiting for him to come at noon, since they had been told they would dine with him there. When Joseph arrived, they gave him the gift they had brought, and they bowed down before him to the ground. He asked them how they were doing and said, "How is your aged father you told me about? Is he still alive?" They answered, "Your servant our father is well. He is still alive." Then they bowed low again. As Joseph looked around and saw his brother Benjamin, his own mother's son, he asked, "Is this your youngest brother, the one you told me about?" And he said to him, God be gracious to you, my son." Deeply moved at the sight of his brother, Joseph hurried out because he was overwhelmed with emotion. He went into a private room and wept there. After he had washed his face and composed himself, he came out and ordered, "Serve the meal." They served Joseph by himself, his brothers by themselves, and the Egyptians who ate with him by themselves. Because Egyptians could not eat with Hebrews, it was considered detestable. The brothers were seated before Joseph in the order of their ages, from the oldest to the youngest, and they looked at each other in astonishment. Portions were served to them from Joseph's table, but Benjamin's portion was 5 times as much as anyone else's. So they feasted and drank freely with him. Genesis chapter 44, the silver cup test. Then Joseph gave orders to his steward. "Fill the men's sacks with as much grain as they can carry. Put each man's silver back in the mouth of his sack. And take my silver cup and place it in the youngest one's sack, along with his grain money." The steward did exactly as Joseph instructed. At dawn, the men were sent on their way with their donkeys. They had just left the city but had not gone far when Joseph said to his steward, "Go after those men at once. When you catch up with them, say to them, 'Why have you repaid good with evil? Isn't this the cup my master drinks from and uses for divination? You have done a wicked thing.'" The steward caught up with them and said just what he had been told. The brothers replied, "Why does my lord say such things? Far be it from us, your servants, to do anything like that. Look, we even brought back to you from Canaan the silver we found in our sacks. Why would we steal silver or gold from your master's house? If any of us has it, let him die, and the rest of us will become your slaves." The steward responded, "Very well, but only the one who is found with the cup will become my slave. The rest of you will be free from blame." Each man quickly lowered his sack to the ground and opened it. The steward searched them, starting with the oldest and ending with the youngest. And there it was, the cup was found in Benjamin's sack. At this, they tore their clothes in anguish. Each man loaded his donkey and returned to the city. When Judah and his brothers came to Joseph's house, he was still there. They fell to the ground before him. Joseph said, "What have you done? Don't you know that a man like me can find out things by divination?" Judah replied, "What can we say to you, my lord? How can we prove our innocence? God has uncovered our guilt. We are now your slaves, all of us, even the one who was found with the cup." But Joseph said, "Far be it from me to do that. Only the man who was found with the cup will become my slave. The rest of you may go back to your father in peace." Then Judah stepped forward and said, "Please, my lord, let me speak just once. Do not be angry with me, though you are like Pharaoh himself. You asked us, 'Do you have a father or another brother?' And we answered, 'Yes, we have an aged father, and there is a young son born to him in his old age. His brother is dead, and he is the only one left of his mother's children. His father loves him dearly. Then you said to us, 'Bring him down to me so I can see him for myself.' And we said, 'The boy cannot leave his father. If he leaves him, his father will die.' But you told us, 'Unless your youngest brother comes with you, you will not see my face again.' So when we went back to our father, we told him everything you said. Later, when our father told us to go again and buy food, we said, 'We cannot go unless our youngest brother goes with us.' Then my father said, 'You know that my wife bore me 2 sons. One is gone.' I said, 'Surely he has been torn to pieces, and I haven't seen him since. If you take this one from me too and harm comes to him, you will bring my gray head down to the grave in sorrow. So now, if the boy is not with us when I go back to my father, and his life is closely bound up with the boy's life, he will die. Your servants will bring down the gray head of our father in sorrow to the grave.' I guaranteed the boy's safety to my father. I said, 'If I do not bring him back, I will bear the blame before you all my life. So now, please let me remain here as your servant instead of the boy. Let him go back with his brothers. For how can I go back to my father if the boy is not with me? I could not bear to see the grief that would overwhelm him." Genesis 45. Joseph reveals his identity. Joseph could no longer control himself in front of everyone standing around. He cried out, "Everyone leave me." So all the attendants left, and Joseph was alone with his brothers. Then he broke down in tears. He wept so loudly that the Egyptians could hear him, and the news even reached Pharaoh's palace. Joseph said to his brothers, "I am Joseph. Is my father still alive?" But his brothers were speechless. They were stunned and terrified to realize that the one standing before them was Joseph. "Come closer to me," he said. So they came near. Then he said again, "I am your brother Joseph, the one you sold into slavery in Egypt. But don't be upset or angry with yourselves for selling me. It was God who sent me ahead of you to preserve your lives. For 2 years now there has been a famine in the land, and for 5 more years there will be neither plowing nor harvesting. God sent me ahead of you to keep you alive and preserve a future for your families. So it wasn't really you who sent me here, it was God. He made me like a father to Pharaoh, lord of all his household, and ruler over all Egypt. Now hurry back to my father and tell him, 'This is what your son Joseph says. God has made me lord of all Egypt. Come down to me right away. You will live in the region of Goshen, near me, with your children and grandchildren, your flocks and herds, and everything you own. I will take care of you there, for there are still 5 more years of famine ahead. Otherwise, you and your household and all your animals will starve. You can see with your own eyes, and my brother Benjamin can too, that it is I, Joseph, who is speaking to you. Tell my father about all the honor I have received in Egypt and everything you've seen. Then bring him here quickly.' Then Joseph threw his arms around his brother Benjamin and wept, and Benjamin hugged him and wept as well. He kissed all his brothers and wept over them. Afterward, they were finally able to talk with him. Meanwhile, the news of Joseph's brothers arriving reached Pharaoh's palace. Pharaoh and his officials were pleased. Pharaoh said to Joseph, 'Tell your brothers, load your animals and return to the land of Canaan. Bring your father and your families back to me. I will give you the best of Egypt, and you will enjoy the fat of the land. Also tell them, take carts from Egypt for your children and your wives. Bring your father and come. Don't worry about your belongings, because the best of all Egypt will be yours.' So the sons of Israel did as they were told. Joseph gave them carts, as Pharaoh had instructed, and provisions for the journey. To each of them, he gave a new set of clothes, but to Benjamin, he gave 5 sets of clothes and 300 pieces of silver. He also sent 10 donkeys loaded with the best products of Egypt, and 10 female donkeys loaded with grain, bread, and other provisions for his father's journey. Then he sent his brothers away, and as they departed, he warned them, 'Don't quarrel on the way.' When they arrived in Canaan, they went to their father Jacob and exclaimed, 'Joseph is still alive, and he is ruler over all the land of Egypt.' Jacob was stunned. He couldn't believe it. But when they told him everything Joseph had said, and when he saw the carts Joseph had sent to carry him back, their father Jacob's spirit was revived. And Israel said, 'Enough. My son Joseph is still alive. I will go and see him before I die.' Jacob's heart was finally at peace. His son Joseph was alive. But will Jacob go to Egypt now? And is this reunion part of a greater plan by God? Discover the next part of this amazing journey in the upcoming chapter. Have a happy life listening to Holy Bible.